Welcome, everybody, to part two of the GioMoShow covering the Horizon League tournament. If you stumbled on part two, then be sure to go to part one. This kind of sets the stage for what we'll be talking about now, which is the championship game between the regular season champion Wright State Raiders and the surprising addition to the championship game, Detroit Mercy Titans. I was enamored with this matchup. This one, it was honestly, obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, but I kind of wanted Northern Kentucky in it to beat Wright State and to, just because of how much I was covering them, I was starting to get really familiar with them and just their story and all the stuff that I detailed in the previous part about why I was kind of liking Northern Kentucky. But Wright State is the regular season champions for a reason. They proved it against NKU, scoring 103. And recent history has shown the past three regular season champions of the Horizon League were also the tournament champions. Were also the ones punching their ticket to March Madness. I think they were all 15-3 in conference play. So you got that going up against Detroit Mercy, a team who, I will be completely honest, they are not as good as Wright State. They are not as skilled at all positions. They are not as mistake-free. I wouldn't say Wright State was necessarily mistake-free, but Detroit makes a lot more mistakes than Wright State does. So I would say it was definitely an uphill battle for Detroit going up against the best team in the league. Now, I say that, and that's kind of what my thoughts were going into it. It's like, well, Wright State is clearly the better team here. But not the only reason, but a big reason that Detroit was even in the championship game is because they went to their house of the Nutter Center on February 12th and beat them in their own place. Very few teams. They only lost 5 games. I can't imagine many of them were at home, but Detroit was able to do it. Oakland couldn't do it. Oakland couldn't do it at home. So you kind of balance the two, and you're like, geez, I don't know how this is going to go. The way I thought the game would go, that I had in my pregame, and I kind of referenced it in the halftime, and I've been referencing it since, was that if the game was going to be low scoring, if it was going to be gross, then it would play into Detroit's hands. That's a little bit more of their speed. They're not necessarily a super high scoring team. So, and neither was the time they beat them in the Nutter Center. It was in the 70s, a little bit lower scoring. It wasn't crazy low. It wasn't the 50s. But that would play more into their hands. But if you're getting a game like Wright State just came off of playing against Northern Kentucky, where they scored 103 points, if it's into the 80s, then I thought that would play into Wright State's hands. I thought they were the more talented team with more firepower, with more scoring options, more guys that can make their own shot. I thought that would play into their hands. But the way this game played out was fascinating. This game was it kind of took you for a roller coaster, honestly. Because as the game was going on, it wasn't really high scoring. And we're pretty deep into the first half. The game's still in the 20s. And I'm thinking back to what I was talking about. This kind of plays into Detroit's hand. Detroit's making mistakes. Detroit's, kind of struggling on offense. Everything they're doing feels difficult. Because Wright State, what made them so good this year especially, was that they kind of maintained the offensive proficiency that they're known for while bolstering their defense. And behind, Defensive Player of the Year, TJ Birch, you got big guy Kellen Pickett, Freshman of the Year, who's a freak, who was awesome in this tournament. Michael Amaribe was second team All-League. He's a goofball too, which I learned after the game. But he's a phenomenal player. Their front court of Pickett and Amaribe especially, I would say, is more potent than Detroit's of Jeter, Maiden, Calambay. They're not necessarily a scoring front court. But there was a stretch in the middle of that game where it was kind of close. Wright State was maybe kind of flirting with, getting into there, but they were missing a lot of shots. They were missing free throws. They were missing threes. And that's when Detroit really sunk their teeth into it. Between 5 minutes and 46 seconds left in the first half I couldn't remember the exact last time, but let's say less than 10 minutes into the second half. Let's say 5 minutes into the second half. It was a 10-minute stretch. Detroit was on a 20-3 run. They held Wright State to 1 of 16 from the floor. Wright State could not score. And while Detroit wasn't necessarily lighting the world on fire, they were making shots, they were building a lead, and they were up by as much as, I believe, 12 in this game. Detroit led by as much as 12 at 9 minutes and 52 seconds left in the game. They had a 12-point lead with less than 10 to go in the Horizon League championship game here. And the stakes for Detroit are high. Detroit has been a bottom feeder program in the Horizon League since their championship run in championship victory in 2012. Last time they went to the tournament. Last time they were in the championship game. And, the year after that, they were third place in 2013. That would be the last time they'd be third place in the Horizon League. But in just 2 years, Mark Montgomery, with local recruits and local talent and a background with Michigan State, so he knows the state. He knows how important Detroit is as a city and how that is something to be embraced. The phenomenal turnaround they've had, especially like for me, seeing it up close when they beat Oakland on senior night, I was like, this is good for the league. This is good for Detroit. This is good for basketball. When they beat Robert Morris and the opportunity for them to go to the NCAA tournament in Montgomery's second year, when that story was starting to go around, man, people loved it. It was being called the best story in college basketball by many people. It was going around. Mark Montgomery's picture was everywhere. Orlando Lovejoy, Detroit. Detroit is back. Dick Vitale was tweeting about Detroit Mercy. It was big news. The stakes were high. And despite Detroit being the underdog in this one, it felt like at times the pressure was on them to cash in and take advantage of this opportunity that in this day and age may be hard to replicate. It's not guaranteed you'll get back, as Detroit sports fans know. In any sport, it's not guaranteed that you'll get back. So with a 12-point lead with 10 minutes left to go in the game, things fell apart. When Logan Woods from Wright State started making threes, he made 2 of 3. Both of them were in the second half. They were back-to-back. That lit that Wright State crowd up. There was a ton of Raiders in there against NKU and against Detroit. You had guys in helmets and beards. You had the student section that was full and active and loud and with elite signs. The signs were incredible. I'll show some on the screen right here. They had a Magikarp sign. They had Ron Swanson. They were wearing Beat NKU shirts. They had Brick and Luigi. That student section was nuts. Their fans were nuts. And when Logan Woods made those threes, that pretty much flipped the game around in a game that did not have a high volume of threes, that flipped it around. And during that time, Detroit was going cold. Detroit was not making their shots. They were not able to calm the storm. The storm kept coming. But despite all that, Detroit, with seconds left in the game, they were still in it. It was 65-63. Who else do you want the ball in your hand besides first-team all-league defender, big-time Mr. 313 Orlando Lovejoy? Who else do you want have the ball in their hands besides him? Nobody. He has the ball. He's driving. There's seconds left. He's got to race. He's got to go. He's going to his left. But in the paint meeting him there is freshman of the year, Kellen Pickett. Big dude. He's made his free throws this game. He's been making his shots. 7 rebounds in total. 3 blocks up until this point. And the play that sealed the game for the Raiders was as Lovejoy was going to the basket. swatted away. Freshman of the year locks it up for Wright State. With half a second left, the ball goes out of bounds, or Detroit fouls. I can't remember. But I think they fouled because it would be one last free throw to make it a 3-point game, and that would seal victory for the Raiders. And the word around town for Detroit, we'll get to Wright State on the victorious side in a little bit, but I want to stay on Detroit. They were one possession away from a championship. They were one possession away from the best story in college basketball coming to fruition, to getting on the national stage, to having every story be about Mark Montgomery, Orlando Lovejoy, Legend Jeter, Lance Stone, Tyler Spratt, these TJ Nader, these local guys rebuilding a program, many of them returning to continue to build a program that they believe Monty would build for them and help them build and bring them to a level that Detroit has not seen in over a decade. That would have been the headlines. You would have seen Mark Montgomery on Rich Eisen, on Pat McAfee. You would have seen him being interviewed on CBS by John Rothstein. I guarantee that's what would have happened if Detroit made the tournament. You would have had videos from Dick Vitale that would get millions of views all over Twitter and social media. Detroit being back. Detroit Mercy basketball being back. That's what would have been. And honestly, I was hoping for it, man. I was rooting for the best story. I was rooting for the state of Michigan in a certain way. I was rooting for a elevated status of our rival to make then every matchup that follows more meaningful, more special, more must-see, more packed arenas in Callahan Halls. I wanted that, man. And selfishly, I wanted some local interest. I'm based in Metro Detroit. That's where a lot of my audience is. I sure would have loved to have provided some coverage of a local team making it to March Madness for the first time in 14 years. A program that won a single game 2 years ago. It just wasn't meant to be. Wright State was the better team. Wright State played better down the stretch. Detroit Mercy froze in the final stretch. I got to say, you're up by 12 with 10 minutes left. I'm not being harsh, and I'm not being a Golden Grizzly slap. You're up by 12 in a championship game. You held them, you suffocated them in the middle of the game for a 15-minute stretch. You were just suffocating them, but you couldn't score at the end. That was kind of a weakness that Detroit Mercy had throughout the season. They've scored a lot of points in certain games, but from what I saw in the tournament, other than Lovejoy, Spratt and Stone can make shots, but I didn't feel like they had a consistent option outside of Lovejoy. Not consistent enough. Tyler Spratt, who is a firecracker, didn't make a single shot. He was 0 of 7. He was 0 of 2 from 3. Ryan Callambay on the inside, he was 1 of 4. Lance Stone was 1 of 5 from the floor. It's just they didn't have enough shot makers. They haven't had enough shot makers all season to, in those situations, get you the needed bucket. They knew Lovejoy was coming. They had to have known. What else are you going to focus on in the scouting report besides, hey, Lovejoy's going to get the ball. Don't foul him because he will make his free throws. He will draw fouls and make his free throws. Wright State was ready for it. Wright State was ready for a championship. And the Raiders are victorious. That's who the confetti fell on. And we'll wrap up the Detroit side of things. We will get into Wright State. But I did like I wish I was there for more of the press conference because I was there shooting film and trying to get some photos and footage and interviews with some of the Raiders while they were celebrating on the court. Didn't realize that the Detroit's media availability was going on during some of that. But upon rewatching the post-game press conference and being there for the second half of it, Coach Montgomery said and proclaimed that it's not going to be another drought.
Well, the foundation has been laid, and like this guy said, it's an expectation of bringing it every day, being an everyday guy. So it doesn't matter if it's in the classroom, if it's on the court, if it's strength and conditioning, the foundation is laid. And this is more what expected. Doesn't matter what group we have that I always tell my guys, if they play with great energy, great effort, and they're tough together, good things can happen. Then you got to get a group to believe in each other and buy into their roles. I thought this group did that. Started with those guys, even though they're the glue and they're the foundation. But if you don't have good leaders, others won't follow. And this is not going to be a drought, as we say. And we're not down in Indy for another 10 years. So we're looking forward to building on this and continuing success of Detroit Mercy basketball.
He's building the program to continue to be at this level, to continue to recruit local guys. Because Michigan has fantastic basketball players. Michigan is a very underrated basketball state, I would say. So this is one of the better states. Detroit is one of the better areas to recruit. And it's been an untapped well for a little bit of time. I feel like, I'm speaking from feeling here. I don't know, or I don't think, I don't know. I feel that that's the case. But he's committed to building the program the way he wants, or the way that he has. Now, there is speculation. Nothing concrete, nothing to report here, but I was riding shotgun with Tony Paul from the Detroit News, and in his kind of post-game recap that he recorded and posted, there's reasonable speculation that Montgomery might be getting offers from other schools, similar to Gottlieb for Green Bay. If you can rebuild those programs in 2 years, get them into the conference tournament, what could you do with more resources? What could you do in a bigger conference? What could you do with more opportunity? Naturally, that's going to be asked. That's going to happen. I hope both of them stay. I really hope both of them stay. I love Monty. Gottlieb, obviously, I have some selfish motives for that. But Gottlieb is entertaining. He's good for the league. He gets attention to the program and the league. Green Bay loves him. Why leave that? I would be heartbroken to see if either of them leave. But it's good for basketball. Those guys are good for the league. Detroit being good is good for the league. Everybody being good is good for the league, obviously. Really, the only team that has to kind of catch up is IU Indy, and they're in the middle of some other issues. Cleveland State has been, Cleveland State was near the top of the league just a couple years ago. And they're a successful program. So pretty much IU Indy, like now with Green Bay and Detroit, it's really just one team left. And we got Northern Illinois coming into the league too. I don't know what their basketball program's like or how it will be like in the Horizon League. I'm pretty sure they're getting a new coach as they come into this new era, but the league looks great right now. Those teams being good is a part of that. Now let's get to Wright State. Okay, here come the Raiders. The March wind is a Raider. Doesn't roll off the tongue like the Oakland Raiders, but the March Madness wind is a Raider. Galloping boisterously, however it goes. But they are league champions. They now make it 3 years in a row that a regular season champion is the tournament champion. And they're just a good team. They've been a good team all season. They have been top of the league all season long. They have yet to be usurped. And as being the sole representative of the Horizon League, it will be until next year that their crown will be challenged. Man, they're just a good team. Like I was mentioning before, their front court, between Oakland and Robert Morris, I would say like their top front court in the league, or one of with Amari Bay and Pickett. Obviously, you got freshman of the year Kellen Pickett. I should also mention you got all freshman team. Michael Maribe's second team all league. You got the newcomer and the defensive player of the year in TJ Birch, who was the tournament MVP as well. Him and freshman Michael Cooper. By the way, I mean, Michael Cooper was on the all freshman team, but he very well could have won freshman of the year as well. Right? So he's got two of those freshmen that are some of the best players in the league. Michael Cooper was a huge part in the reason Wright State beat Northern Kentucky, and was a huge part in how they beat Detroit. Well, actually, he had 5 points. Whoops. No, but it was more than Northern Kentucky. He was at the post-game press conference, Michael Cooper, but that's a bad man. And then you look at Solomon Callahan. He didn't shoot particularly well in this game. He was 0 of 4. He was 1 of 5. He picked up 5 rebounds as well. But against Northern Kentucky, he was 2 of 6. I mean, like, honestly, not a super good tournament for him. So if you guys watch my social media, you go, well, why'd you interview him at the post game? Well, I'll say this. First of all, let's teleport back to January 11th. Oakland is hosting Wright State on ESPN2 on a Sunday. 2 top teams in the league. We're both 4-1. And for the second time this season, Callahan makes 6 3-pointers against the Golden Grizzlies, cementing himself, as well as the Raiders, as top dogs. I remembered that. And Callahan also remembered the video I posted after the game of me and my frustrations with his success. When we were on the court watching the confetti fall and stuff, he comes up to me, like, he watches my stuff. He watches my stuff on Instagram and on Twitter. He says I get all my Oakland updates from him or from me. So yeah, I wanted to do a little full circle moment and talk to him. You know, especially just there's naturally some familiarity to it, so that would make for a better interview. But I say he might not have had a huge tournament, but he was definitely a threat and has been productive all season long. So yeah, I wanted to talk to him. He seems like a great guy. He seems like a great kid, and you know, him sticking around. I think he was also one of the returning players. Had to interview him, of course. Anyone who said, listen, here's a little cheat code for me. If you say you watch my stuff, I'll talk to you. I'll put the camera up. No sweat. I got you. Especially if you're a Horizon League champion. But all that put together, they're the youngest. They're the first time. It's the first time that Wright State has won the regular season and the tournament in the same season. They're one of the youngest teams to ever do it in the Horizon League. And they're just a damn good team. How can you deny it? Also, they were not challenged at the top spot all year. Every time they lost, Oakland also lost. Oakland never took first place from them after that matchup in January in the arena. That was then the final matchup. We got them out of the way kind of early. But I think even if we played them later in the season, didn't matter. I think they still would have beat Oakland. It's just, I was very impressed with Wright State, with their fans, with their players, with the performances they had, with their post-game press conferences. They had the whole team behind them asking questions. Michael Amaribe had a question. He said, "Hey, TJ, why are you so great?" And then Callahan had his camera out with the question saying, "Hey, what's your message to the younger generation?" Like, just goofing around. They're having fun. They just won the league. So that it's a great team. They are a great story, and they're going to be a good representative in the NCAA tournament. Now, this is coming out Saturday morning. Obviously, Selection Sunday is right around the corner. So close that you're wondering why I'm uploading this now and not on Selection Sunday. Listen, I'll do a quick video about it, but from the projections as of March 13th, Friday night, some projections have Wright State as a 14 seed. I will point back to the newspaper clippings behind me in the set. Oakland was a 14 seed. I've seen some of them matched up with Nebraska. Nebraska's a very good team. But I see that 14 seed and I see what's possible. I think Wright State needs a 14 seed for them to have a chance at another similar Horizon League upset. I don't see it happening as a 15 seed. Absolutely don't see it happening as a 16 seed. But a 14 seed gives you a chance. A 14 seed has been done recently before, and your likelihood is just much better. Will I be filling out Wright State in my brackets? No. You shouldn't. Why would you? When you compare them to the rest. I mean, I love the Horizon League so much. But I'm not oblivious to the fact that it is the Horizon League when you're bringing it to the national tournament. It's okay. The conference championship is the peak. That's just the mid-major world we live in. It's a world that I particularly like. I don't mind. But it does not mean you're going to ever run like Oakland did. Now remember, this is a very young team in Wright State. Oakland was very old. Oakland had Townsend 4 years, Conway 4 years, Lampman 5 years. Osei Price was there for at least 2 years. You had some old heads over there. Jack Golke was in his 5th year playing up against a very young Kentucky team. That was a huge part of why they were able to win that game. Because there were men, there were pretty much grown men compared to a lot of the freshmen straight to the NBA talent that Kentucky had, that they usually have, at least under Cal. I haven't kept up with them with Mark Pope as much, but haven't really talked to the Rupp to No Good podcast after my appearance on there, almost predicting the Oakland's victory perfectly. I was off by 1 point. I predicted 80 to 77, and it was 80 to 76. Just saying. Hey, flashbacks, memories. But so the reason I'm saying that is that with Wright State being such a young team, I have even a harder time thinking that they could get an upset in the first round. A 14 seed is, I would say, mandatory for it to even be possible. But they're young. That's difficult to pull off. Clinton Sargent is a young head coach himself. He was under Scott Nagy for a lot of years. Scott Nagy is a fantastic coach too, but I wouldn't pick them in my bracket. That's okay. Nobody's going to be picking a Horizon League team in their bracket anyway. It's just how it is. So that wraps up our championship of the Horizon League. I'll finish off the last few minutes with just kind of my personal experience there. First of all, Indianapolis is a beautiful city. Yeah, I'm going to kind of lean back and chill out a little bit, slouch in my chair, but I had a great time in Indianapolis. Luckily, the weather on Monday was fantastic, and I was able to walk around. I got to see a Reggie Miller mural on the side of a building. That was sick. Stopped at a bar on a Monday at 3:00. Nothing to do. Had a couple of bros sit up with me. We chit-chatted about life. Met a lot of great people at this tournament. I'll be polite. I won't name drop, but I was very happy that I attended it, even with Oakland not being there. And honestly, I think for me personally, Oakland not being there was overall a good thing, because it allowed me to kind of find myself in the tournament, to find myself as a media person, to have more incentive to introduce myself, because I'm not covering my team here. I better get something out of this. So it kind of encouraged me more to be more networky, to say hi to people, to hand out business cards. But also shout out Mascella Designs for making my business cards, especially on such short notice. They were able to get me enough to go to get me a pack to go to the tournament with and hand out. So shout out to Mascella Designs. They're fantastic. They're the ones who got the GioMoShow logo to be the way it was, because they needed it just 2 solid colors before it had a little more texture to it. But I think without Oakland in it, I would go 100 out of 100 times. it was fun. I think it expanded my network. I think it furthered the GioMoShow and myself as a Horizon League presence, which is something that if I'm going to be covering Oakland, then my scope of the Horizon League and my understanding of the Horizon League is going to have to get better. And showing your face is important. Showing up. Listen, is anyone else from Oakland going to show up to that? No. But Giovanni is. He's going to be there. He's about that. He's like that. That's kind of what I wanted to show. That's what I wanted to prove to everybody by being there. And I think I did that. So I'm very happy that I went. And I can't wait to go to, I believe it's in Naperville, that they're moving the Horizon League tournament to until 2031. Noblesville. It's called Noblesville. So that's where it's going to be from 2027 to 2031. So even though it was the last time at Corteva Coliseum, I'm so glad I went. And I can't wait to go to know Noblesville for the next tournament. Hopefully Oakland will be in there. So that will wrap up my experience, my coverage, my thoughts and opinions on the Horizon League tournament of 2026. I'll have a little video coming out once Wright State's opponent gets announced. You can probably just go straight to social media, which you can follow at the GioMo Show. You can follow me on Twitter at GioMoSherry, WXOU. Rate, review, subscribe. We'll have maybe 1 or 2 more episodes, and then we'll kind of go into hibernation over the summer. And we'll kind of describe what the GioMoShow is looking to look like into next season, because it may not look the way that you guys are used to, but it will still be the same content. We might go through a little bit of construction like we were planning to for this season. So my name is Giovanni Moceri. Thank you again to sportscaster.com for sending me out to the Horizon League tournament, for allowing me to be credentialed for it. Thank you to the Horizon League for receiving such applications of a credential and being nothing but welcoming and kind of happy to see me there. Thank you to everybody that I met and networked with. Hopefully it won't be the last time I see you guys. Hopefully we'll be able to stay in touch and cover the Horizon League and make sure that this league is one that is covered with the right energy, with the right excitement, and the right expertise. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for watching and tuning in for this season. We'll kind of recap everything in a later episode. So my name is Giovanni Moceri. Thank you for listening to the GioMoShow, and we'll see you soon.